Well, you know, if the Packers are going to lose to such a high-quality opponent, they might as well lose to a Matt Canada offense. Damn it! Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. That sucked. That did not feel great. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers 19-23. And I will say there's not as much doom and gloom as there was potentially with some of those other losses, because I think there's actually a good amount of positives to take away from this game. Of course, there are definitely negatives, the biggest one being that we lost, but it seems that the reason why the Packers are losing is just it's the same mistakes that are plaguing them over and over again that is just adding up to the point where they're not able to come back from. If you look earlier in this season, the fact that the Packers couldn't do anything in the first half, but then the second half, they were magically another team and they were able to come back. But if they're going against a decent team, it's going to be too much for them to surmount. Now, I will say, let's start with the positives. The Packers scored 13 points in the first half, 2 touchdowns, 1 on their first drive, and you do love to see that. Of course, there was a blocked extra point, and Josiah DeGuara, the footage of him just kind of sitting there and allowing the defender to go by that would eventually block the extra point, is very, very frustrating considering that 2020 class is under a lot of scrutiny. You look at A.J. Dillon, who hasn't had his best season, though he's looked better these past couple of weeks. Josiah DeGuara in that group as well. But yeah, man, it's that's going to kill you. Of course, you do have the incomplete pass that should have been a fumble, but I'm not going to sit here and complain about the refs the entire time because the Packers had opportunities to win that game. They could have gone down the field and they could have won. Christian Watson, unfortunately, unable to come away with the touchdown grab. It was a well-thrown ball by Jordan Love. Yes, the coverage was tight, but deflected off of Watson's hands and eventually intercepted. And I think that's been one of the biggest disappointments of this season. Yes, Christian Watson has been injured, but he just doesn't look like the same player he was last year. He's not really going after the ball. He's not super aggressive. And I thought it'd be different this game because the first 2 passes were going his way. But unfortunately, he did not have a great game, went 2 for 23. And Jordan Love, for the most part, played a really solid game. 21 for 40, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 1 sack. I do have to shout out the offensive line, which did a really, really good job neutralizing the pass rush of a very good Pittsburgh Steelers defense. But Jordan Love, the last interception, he forced the ball. Yes, he may have had Romeo Doubs up on the top left, but unfortunately, they had 3 seconds left, and that's going to happen with a young QB. And this is not going to help Jordan Love's case at all. That first interception, again, I think it was a well-thrown ball. And for the most part, he played pretty solid football. But again, the thing that I'm holding on to is you're seeing progress, especially with Jordan Love. Now, if you look at the rest of the offense, it had 116 rushing yards, A.J. Dillon 9 for 70, Aaron Jones, 13 for 35, so couldn't get a lot going against this good Steelers front. Jaden Reed was our leading receiver, 5 for 84 for a touchdown. Luke Musgrave, 2 for 64. And while the offense, I was really happy with their first half performance, that second half where they usually thrive, Steelers defense kind of locked down, and unfortunately, the Packers really couldn't do much with the ball. And when they had opportunities like they have had in the past to win the game, unfortunately, they are unable to get it done, and we saw a Jordan Love interception to end the game yet again. Over on the defensive side of the ball, yeah, Kenny Pickett did not have to do much today. Dude only threw it 23 times, 14 for 23, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, only was sacked once. But the ground game absolutely decimated the Packers. 205 yards of total rushing offense for the Steelers. Warren had over 101 yards, and that was a big problem because the Steelers were able to run the ball whenever they wanted to. They took a lot of time off the clock, and it wound up just killing us because the Packers could not stop the run. And again, that's going to go to Joe Barry and the problems with this defense, and while I think the defense did enough to win this game, we had no Quay Walker or Jair Alexander, it still is really frustrating to see that our rushing defense has not really gotten better, and that a team like the Steelers, who has not been the best offense this year, still was able to find a ton of success against us. The Packers also had 5 penalties, some which were very costly and pinned the Packers way back, but thankfully it wasn't as many penalties as the Packers have been getting called against them in previous weeks. But taking a look where the Packers are right now, they are 3-6. The Vikings, they look like they're going to be competitive against the Lions for the NFC North. And the Packers have the same amount of wins as the Chicago Bears, which is a pretty awful feeling.
Ooh, self-burn. Those are rare.
Now, as I have talked about on this show, the most important thing to get out of this season is, one, clarification on if Jordan Love is the guy or not. But you want to see progress, not just from Jordan Love, but you want to see for the rest of the offense, the defense, who is going to remain on this team after a lackluster season. The Packers are likely going to have a really good draft pick. Who are they going to target? Is it going to be QB if Love isn't the guy, or are they going to go get a premium weapon, hopefully for that offense, or maybe shore up that O-line a little bit more? The point that I'm trying to make is I'm not as upset as I thought I would be, because the Packers at least were competitive against a Steelers team who is 6-3. They've gotten outgained in all of their games this season, and yet they still have a 6-3 record. So kudos to their coaching, and they get it done in the fourth quarter. Their defense played really well in that second half. But the Packers, they have had so many close games where it could have gone the other way. And the ultimate question is, can they get over that hump and win those close games with the roster and coaching that they have, or is something else needed? And if so, where are those needs? Is it quarterback? Is it running back? Is it O-line? Is it wide receiver? Is it safety? Is it new defensive coordinator? Is it edge rusher? I think you can make an argument for a lot of those positions. But here, it's a young team on the road. Love, for the most part, played pretty solid. And yeah, it really sucks to lose this one. And unfortunately, that's kind of been the theme of the Packers this year, just losing close games that they have an opportunity to win. And yeah, it's the hope that gets you. Coming up next, the Packers have a game against the Chargers, which is going to be a really tough game. And then they have the Lions on Thanksgiving. And to be completely honest, they may lose both of those games. But again, I like the progress that we saw from the offense. Of course, it could be so much better. That defense, especially the run D, needs to get better. And if not, then there need to be consequences. But yeah, another tough loss for the Packers. And like I said, hopefully we see some more progress next week. But either way, folks, buckle in, because we still got a lot of season left. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy. All social media is seen down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.